Hey everyone, welcome to Tim's Vinyl Confessions. I'm Tim Derling, and it is always a pleasure to welcome back Chris Preston from My Rock and Roll Heaven to the show. Hello, sir.
Good morning, Tim. How are you?
I'm doing very, very well. These are so much fun to do. I think I actually like myself. I like doing these probably as good as any type of episode because this gets super into the geeky
Right?
collecting minutia. And when it comes to cassettes, I'll throw 8 tracks in the conversation too. They look so different from
Yeah,
issue to issue, country to country,
exactly.
retail record club, more so than CDs or records.
Absolutely right.
CDs or records tend to look about the same as far as the same issues of them go. But uh, on this episode, this is kind of a follow up to the episode that Chris and Jax and I did on the Canadian WEA super cassettes,
So fun.
the ones with the big C on them. And those went till around 1987. And then after that, well, around, I think the US started doing this first, but around 87, 88, they started to switch the look of the Atlantic cassettes. So we're not gonna talk about Warner Brothers or Elektra or
No,
anything like that. We're just gonna talk about Atlantic ones. And they came up with, I think, a really striking, really cool design for their
absolutely.
cassettes.
They really
Um,
stand out in the collection. If you got one on display, like it looks so sharp.
Yeah, I like the font. I like, everything about it is cool. So we call them the red and white ones. So you'll see what we
Yeah.
mean once we get going. They did it for CDs too, but they're bigger. The font's bigger on the cassettes. But the first thing I want to do is show you, because we did talk about the super cassettes. I want to show what the US Atlantic cassettes looked like before that switchover. So this is Bad Company's 10 from 6, which came out sometime in 1985, I think towards the second half of 1985. This is a US cassette, so it had this blue font, the smaller blue font. You can see the Atlantic logo, looked like that on the back, and the cassettes were all white like this. And
White. Yeah.
typically not a lot for credits. And so that's what the US ones looked like. But in Canada, as you may know, they were into the super cassettes. And my personal feeling is if you look to hold that up and look at the spine and look at the back cover, I think the Canadian cassettes look better at this point. I just think it's a
Yeah.
stronger looking design. I don't know that with there's the artistic terms for it are, but yeah, I just think that they just looked better. I've got one more example of this to show you too. Of course, Vandenberg, one of my favorite unsung bands. This is Alibi, their third album, which came out September 85. This is on Atco, which is still Atlantic. It's just a slightly different division, so it looks much the same. But it's also a clear cassette. So I always did like these clear cassettes, and the US were the first to
Yeah.
introduce these.
Exactly.
And I think that the Warner Electra Atlantic labels were the first also to start using those because I know the CBS cassettes were still like the cream color. The polygram cassettes were still like the off-white, the beige color a little bit.
Exactly.
The MCA cassettes always looked really, really cheap. Yeah.
They did.
You know, so do the A&M ones. But they eventually, I think all the labels eventually switched over to those clear cassettes, which I just think were just so cool. So yeah, I know that uh, the US started changing first because there's one album in particular that the first time I owned it, it was a red and white, but I now have a Canadian version of it, which is a super cassette. Maybe Chris will have it. I don't know.
Let's see.
If he doesn't, then I'll say which one it was. So that's how I know that there was a difference. Still, Canada held on to those super cassettes a little bit longer. So without further ado, we've decided because these seem to go from 1987 to 1992. We're
Yeah.
going to split these up into two piles. 1987 to 1989 is where we start, and I'm going to let Chris go through what he's got for these Atlantic red and white cassettes.
Awesome. I've got a nice stack going here, Tim. Just quickly before I get into it, always love doing these cassette episodes. Like you said, they're a lot of fun to get into all the different variances and releases and the different issues between the two countries and even within the countries. But cassettes were my main source of physical media, probably from '86 through early '90s. CDs were expensive, right? Still when they first came out.
CDs were at least $10 more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So that hindered a teenager
Yeah.
from
Well,
buying.
it was a buying decision. I mean, you could almost get two cassettes for the price of one
Exactly.
CD, especially if you were getting an older CD, because like catalog CDs that weren't on sale, I
Oh
remember
God,
seeing like
yeah,
standard ones like Pyromania for like 26.99. It's
yeah.
like, no.
Couldn't afford it. So
Yeah.
that was my main source of consumption, and you know, I still have going through all this. It's always fun when we talk about which episodes we're going to do, and I go through my collection because I've got almost 800 cassettes, and I'm always curious to see how many of a certain issue I have, and it surprises me sometimes. But, anyways, without further ado, let's kick it off in 1987. This is still a favorite album of mine. This is a U.S. issue, Tim. So look at this, though.
Yeah.
It's the same as your Bad Company in '87.
Yeah.
Got the songs on the front,
Yeah.
but it does have the red font, the
Yeah.
logo, and the interesting thing is too, they're still
Yeah.
labeled.
White cassette.
Yeah,
And I know for a fact that the Canadian version of that is like a super cassette, or at least it looks like the super cassette.
yeah,
It might not have the C on it.
exactly. And one thing I always hated was the giant UPC code.
Yeah, it ate up a lot of real estate, that's
It
for
ate up a
sure.
lot of real estate, and just
Yeah.
to me, it's the
Yeah.
aesthetic of it.
I think that's
Eh,
another reason why I like the Canadian ones better, the looks
exactly,
of
they're a
it.
little bit smaller, but White Line's Pride, fantastic, fantastic album. I've got myself a sealed copy of Lou
Oh,
Graham's
ready or not.
debut solo effort with the hype sticker on there. This is as well.
Yeah.
Love the red font. The
Yeah.
Atlantic logo was
Yeah, I
great.
don't know what font that is. They used it on the CDs
So
around
good.
that time
So
too.
good.
Yeah.
And this one as well is a US edition, and it's sealed, as I said, but you can see, as you mentioned,
Yeah. So now
clear
they've switched
cassette.
to the clear cassettes. I
Yeah.
have to say that one of my favorite songs, I kind of wish it had been on a Foreigner album, is Heartache.
Oh, yeah.
Love that song. That is like Lou at his best. Yeah.
Yeah,
Midnight
this,
Blue obviously was the hit, and that's a great song. But I remember I didn't have any of Lou's solo album. I actually still don't. But I saw Foreigner, no, I saw Lou solo in 2006, and he did Heartache, and I remember thinking, okay, what is that from? That is incredible. So yeah.
well, it could have, you know what? Like, this was at a time when Foreigner was going in a bit of a different direction, and Lou wasn't happy, right? After
Yeah.
Inside
It
Information.
would have it would have been one of the best tracks on Inside Information.
Exactly, exactly. Up next, got a great album. I prefer their debut. This is Mike and the Mechanics,
Okay, The Living Years.
in the Living Years. Yeah,
Yeah.
with everybody knows that
Yeah.
single, The Living
Mike
Years.
plus the Mechanics to be exact.
Like
And
plus,
so yes, you this is the first one that you may notice to the right of that, folks. Atlantic Records turned 40 in 1988, and so
yep,
all of the Atlantic issue cassettes had that little 40th anniversary next to the logo, kind of made to go like uh,
yeah,
at an angle like that. And I remember seeing
I love that.
parts of the 40th anniversary concert. Not a lot. There weren't a lot of groups that I was interested in at that time.
No,
Like
no,
Led Zeppelin didn't mean anything to me in 1988, for
me too.
example. I know that was a big deal, but I remember because I think that was one of the first times they played with Jason Bonham. So it was significant for that.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. One thing about as we get into these cassettes, and you see as we progress through like 87, 88, 89, you see a very specific focus from the label on a certain genre, and we'll get into that in a second. But they had a roster of classic rock, and then they went full on into signing every single glam
There
band.
were, yeah, and I think I've said this for a long time. The glut of bands that as much as I hate grunge, I kind of understand because there were just too
Yeah,
many bands. And I think Atlantic. I remember looking at, not to get off track too much, but I remember looking in used record stores. I'm going to say between like 93 and 95, 96. There were so many cutouts by new bands
oh my god,
on Atlantic. They all had the,
yeah.
the, the holes punched through them, or the
Slice.
slice taken out of the side. And there were so many bands like I've never even there were bands that I may have heard of vaguely in Metal Edge, but then there were some bands like I have no idea. So yeah, I think they have to have their feet held to the fire for just signing too many bands.
Yeah, it was very, very
You
watered
can't
down.
concentrate. There just wasn't enough A&R time. There wasn't enough
Yeah.
money to sink into all these different bands and make them all stars.
Well, and then most of them vanished after one release. I've got one here, Tim, that I'm not sure you'll. I'm curious to see if it's going to stump you as to who these guys are. But we'll get to that in a sec.
For some reason, I have a guess, but we'll see.
Okay.
There's two guesses that come to mind, and I
Two
could be
guesses that come
wrong
to
both
mind.
times.
Excellent. Okay. Up next. Oh, this is a great band, and this is such a classic album. Kicks Blow My
That
Fuse.
was their long-awaited breakthrough. I mean, they'd been
Their
kicking around.
long-awaited
No,
breakthrough.
no, no fan or no pun intended, but they've been kicking around for a while.
Exactly. Another
Yeah,
of the 40th anniversary
yeah,
editions, and this has like their biggest hits on it, right?
yeah.
Cold
Don't close your
Blood
eyes.
and
Cold Blood. Yeah, yeah.
amazing album. Those guys, they weren't really a hair metal band, but they got kind of swept up in the whole what was going on and sold some
They were
albums.
more like Tesla,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
they also started sooner. Didn't their first album come out in like 81?
I believe it was 81 or 82, and they were you can like when you saw the videos, you could like they're a bit of an older band compared to their
Yeah,
debut.
they'd been around for a while.
Been
Yeah,
around. Okay, up next, this is one of my favorite albums of this era from a band I love and thankfully is still out there and still all original members.
yeah,
Ringer's debut, which
yep,
originally was going to be called Sahara.
yep. That's why. Yeah, that was the thing about the cassette saying "Saha" down on the
Yeah,
corner and
you
be
can
like,
see
why
it
does it say
just
that?
slightly
But
down there. So this is a
not.
sealed copy.
Yeah,
It's an American issue.
yeah. If you didn't have the record or CD, you wouldn't see that it said Sahara. But I actually remember seeing
Exactly.
an interview with either Kip or Reb saying that there was like a sunglass company that was going to sue them if they called it
Something like that,
Sahara.
yeah.
But then I thought it was funny because like 2 years later, House of Lords puts out their second album and they called it Sahara. So I always wondered if that was something to do with that.
Could
But
be. And to your point, look at this. This has a notch. I mean,
now that's weird because that's a double platinum album.
right?
That must have been stock that was still
So
that must have been on the shelves when Beavis and Butthead went on the air.
yeah, right. And then down the tubes went Winger.
Stupid show. I never watched it, to be honest with you.
Up next from 1988, one of my favorite bands of the 80s.
Yeah, great
Rat.
band. That's a really stupid cover.
Really stupid.
That makes no sense.
I don't know what they were going for there. This is
No.
Reach for the Sky. Good album. It flew, well, didn't fly under the radar. It wasn't as successful as their previous albums, but, you know, Way Cool Junior, I think maybe as the first single might not have been, it was very different from
Yeah,
what
I
they
love
had
it,
put
but
out.
yeah, it was. I do remember hearing it on the radio like a couple of times, and it peaked at 75, and that was the lowest charting first single that they had.
Yeah,
It still managed to go platinum,
it
like
did.
they just so there was a lot of there was a lot of support still out there for Rat. Now I remember one thing about that, the kind of the maybe the turning of the tide a little bit. I remember being at a store, and I want to say so people have heard me say this before. I grew up on the border and I had
Yeah.
relatives that lived just across the border in Maine. So I used to, I'd go over there too and look around. But I remember being at a J.C. Penney, and I say that there are no J.C. Penney's in Canada, but it's a fairly well-known chain. And they had all these rock shirts, but they had a ton of rat shirts,
Rat.
like an overage, like they had like oversupply of rat
Yeah.
shirts that it's like they were just trying to get rid of them. And all they had on them was like that R, the way that it was written on the Reach for the Sky album.
Oh,
So
interesting.
yeah, no, I probably should have bought one, but I wasn't into the band at the time. I got into them late.
Right, right.
Yeah,
Well, they're a great band, and their '80s output is outstanding. So this
yeah,
is the debut album
hmm,
from Skid Row, all-time classic, regarded
yeah,
as one of the best hard rock debuts of the '80s. Um, hits, 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 and more hits.
yeah,
This though, look at this,
yeah.
the
So
Black,
yeah, and a Columbia House issue, no less.
and that CRC with the Columbia House
Yeah,
issue. Yeah, this is one of my originals from Columbia House from back in the day, and they were still doing the Black cassettes, obviously,
yep.
here in Canada. Great
I
album,
listened to that so much.
nonstop.
Yeah, that was
This was grade 13 for me,
yeah.
literally.
I,
Going
I okay, quick story. Uh, when I was a kid, my mother, I still have it actually somewhere. My mother bought me this scrapbook thing that you put your school pictures in year by year, maybe samples of your homework, and
I have the
just
same thing.
yeah, it's blue and white.
Yes, I have it.
And yeah, and it had grade 13 in it. And I remember looking at it going, grade 13? I thought, and mom's, no, that's only in Ontario. Or like, and I'm like, okay, good. I don't want to
I
go
forgot
to
about
school.
that. Yeah.
Get me out of here. But yeah, that's so funny.
Oh my. Uh, the 80s.
Yeah.
So this is another US edition of
Oh yeah.
Nuff's self-titled debut album.
Yeah.
This is I love their logo. Um,
Yeah.
it's, it's so cool.
Yeah.
This though, you
They were
can
an
see the
Atco band.
difference.
Yeah.
Atco, which was under the Atlantic
Yeah.
family,
Band. Yeah.
and this one, New Thing and Fly High Michelle are the two big
Fly
hits off of
Michelle's
this.
such a great, great, great song. And I didn't know this until years later. That actually got to as high as 47. I knew it got a
It
little bit
did.
of radio play, but what a fantastic, like, what a great song.
Very interesting band. They were an interesting mix of like glam and there was like some classic rock influences,
They had
very
a lot of big
Beatlesque.
Beatles and a little Cheap
Yeah,
Trick and yeah, Power Pop.
exactly. And
And
they
they're
were
still
touted.
kicking in some form or another today.
They just put
And,
out a
and
new
it,
album.
yeah.
Trips Enough is the only original member, but he's the lead singer now. But these guys were touted for big things, and
Yeah.
going into their second album, there was big expectations from the label, but it did
I
not.
think did that first album not go gold?
It did. Yeah,
Yeah. I was gonna say if
yeah,
it wasn't gold, it was close. But
it did. Now we're gonna get into this band that I wasn't familiar with until I found the cassette actually a couple of years ago. This is
oh
Tangier,
yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Four Winds.
Yeah.
There we go. Another Atco
Yeah.
band and clear cassette. This is a US version as well. But these guys were kind of like had a little bit of a country kind of tinge to them, but southern.
There was some rootsy stuff going on there, which makes
Yeah,
sense. Do you know who got them signed?
I do not.
I believe they were a Philly-based band, and someone that helped get them signed was Tom Kiefer,
Oh,
which kind of
yes,
makes sense because Cinderella were kind of, especially around this time, were kind of.
absolutely.
But yeah, I think that what happened is that Derek Schulman, who was the A&R guy that signed a lot of great bands to Mercury. So he signed Polygram, and then on John Bon Jovi's suggestion, signed Cinderella. Well, I
Right.
think Derek, as this happens, the A&R guys switch companies sometimes. So I think Derek Schulman moved over to Adco, and then Tom Kiefer got in his ear and said, "Hey, these guys are pretty good." And they know. I think they did a couple of albums
They had a
uh,
couple, yeah.
for Atco, and I remember the song "On the Line." That's the one that I remember hearing from them.
Yeah, they had a couple singles off this album that did okay, and On the Line was one of them. But
Yeah,
interesting note, this was also produced by Andy Johns.
another
Had a
Cinderella connection.
Yeah, and a
Yeah.
long history
Yeah.
of
Oh, yeah,
production with
Led
great bands.
Zeppelin, the
Yeah,
Stones. Yeah, yeah,
Van Halen, some bit of work with Van Halen,
yeah. Killer Dwarves, used
Killer
to be.
Dwarves. List goes
Yeah,
on and on.
yeah.
Up next, this is the debut from a Canadian legend. This album was massive. I've got two
Oh,
copies.
yeah, yeah,
I'll tell you why in a second. Lana Miles' self-titled debut. Huge hits on this one. Love Is still got this thing. Black Velvet was massive in the U.S. as
It was a
well.
number one song in the U.S. That
Number
was,
one
yeah,
song.
yeah.
It sold a million
Co-written
copies.
by Christopher Ward.
Exactly, who co-produced the album.
Yeah.
This was an era of in Canada, the AMs. Alanis Morissette came later.
Oh,
Amanda
yeah,
Marshall and Lana
yeah.
Miles all had massive albums in the early 90s, 80s.
And of
Interesting.
course, they were all influenced by Anne Murray.
Exactly. See, there you go.
Yeah, I never thought about that, but
Right?
yeah,
The
see,
AMs, Anne Murray too. And so
yeah,
there's a Columbia House issue on top, so you can
yeah.
see the Columbia Record Club. And
Yeah, her songs were on the radio on both sides of the border for
oh,
a solid year.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
Did really well. This is a band that flew under the radar, but started in the mid 80s.
Oh yeah, yeah.
This is Dirty
Very
Looks.
AC/DC-ish, I think.
There, if you didn't know any better and you didn't know who this was, you'd think it was Bon Scott.
Very much, especially with what was the song, Ruby Ruby?
Yeah,
Yeah, or
yeah,
Oh Ruby,
exactly.
or yeah, I remember, and he even goes into a like a spoken sort of part that sounds like Bon Scott.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. This was their biggest selling album, I believe. But the one that followed it, Cool from the Wire, is regarded as kind of like one of the underrated gems of the era from this band. So
Yeah.
they were really kind of like you could also fit them in like that sleaze metal category
Oh
with like an
yeah.
LA Guns,
Yeah. Yeah,
those guys.
some of it just gets down to they were just so many bands,
Exactly.
and only so many dollars to go around for the
Exactly.
record labels and the consumers.
Love this album. The
Yeah.
debut from Mr. Big. Cool cover.
Yeah.
This one had some great songs on it. Addicted to That Rush is kind of the first single. Their follow up would obviously have an even bigger song on it, but
Yeah.
this was the album that introduced everyone to this very underrated band, like musical pedigree.
Yeah, yeah,
Man,
they were actually a band that I remember reading about before I heard any of their music because of the personnel. Like,
oh man,
yeah,
amazing musicians.
yeah.
And again, a
It
great
just put an
band.
album out last year, a really good one, Mr. Big Ten. Yeah,
And sadly, I think they're done. They had their
yeah.
farewell tour. So
Well, I mean, without Pat Torpey, it was never quite the same.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. This is the second album from a band we've already talked about.
yeah.
Well, third in their
I'm
discography.
just gonna make a guess. That album cover would never fly today.
100% right. What's that house back there in the
Yeah, that big
background?
white house.
So
Yeah,
this is Big Game.
yeah.
White Line was one of my favorite bands from that era. Oh, one thing to point out is the embossed Wea
Yeah.
on a bunch of these tapes as well, which some of them have it, some of them don't. But this,
Yeah,
I always
they
like
had
that.
started to change some of them, but you can always tell, like on the spine too, even though they looked very similar to the U.S. ones, the Canadian ones would have the serial number in black.
Yeah, which is exactly that, right?
Yeah, so
This is a great one though, and I think one of the best covers of all time is on this album, Radar Love. Um, they did a killer job on
I
that.
think that's the first time I ever heard that song. No, you know what? The first time I heard at least part of that song was, if you think about it, you'll probably be able to figure it out, given who it is. They're right behind you. um,
Oh,
you know what I mean? You know what I mean now?
yeah,
The
yeah,
medley.
yeah,
So
yeah. The Def Leppard
yeah, so when I got the
Rock
Rocket
of Ages,
EP, it had this medley. They do
right?
Rock of Ages, and in the middle of it, they do Not Fade Away,
Zeppelin,
Come Together, Whole Lot of Love, Radar
yeah,
Love.
right. You're right.
Um, yeah, so they do a bunch of classic rock songs, and they go back in the last chorus. So I knew
Exactly,
there was a song called Radar Love, but that's the first time I'd heard any of it.
exactly. That's it for my 87 through 89s.
This is really cool, Chris, because I we've got a lot the same, but I've got quite a few different ones. So
Oh,
this is
yes,
great.
good
This is
stuff.
great.
Awesome.
Um, so my first, and I went alphabetical order for whatever reason. Um, so my first one, this I've actually called this my favorite album by this band, which is ludicrous to say, I know, but we just lost their guitarist Mick Rouse. But Bad
Oh, but
Company,
no,
yeah,
that's a
yeah,
good,
yeah.
good album.
Yeah, Dangerous Age, 1988. This was the second one with Brian Howe on vocals, and in my opinion, the first good one.
Yeah.
So this is a Canadian Columbia House issue. So you see the CRC, and then you've got the bracketed Columbia House, their number for it. So it's a black cassette, and yeah, love that album.
That era does not get enough credit. I don't understand why
No.
Brian Howe
Well,
didn't.
my understanding, I actually saw a pretty good interview with Paul. Oh, why did his name go out of my head? He played bass on tour for them for a few years. I guess Brian Howe was quite difficult to
Oh,
work with, but what a voice on that guy.
oh
He
my
died.
God,
He died young, like
way too young.
5 years ago.
Yeah.
Um, can I think of his last name anyway? It's not gonna come back in this time. Second one I've got is a cool little EP. I've always really liked Fraley's Comet
Oh yeah, yeah.
Live Plus One.
Got the
This
vinyl.
yeah, this has so this has four live tracks and one studio song. It's a really good studio song called Words Are Not Enough. So this is obviously an American
Oh,
version
white.
of this,
Yep.
but yeah, it's cool. It's got Rip It Out, Breakout. So Breakout's cool because it was co-written by Eric Carr, and then it would later become known as Car Jam 81 on the Revenge album, but it's the same riff. And he just Rocket Ride, and I think one of the best songs on the Fraley's Comet, the first album, Something Moved. So I used to have the first Fraley's Comet album. Well, it was actually under Ace Frehley's name, but the
Exactly.
album was called Fraley's Comet.
Exactly.
And it looked like this, but the one I've got now is a super cassette, so it's a Canadian one. So
Oh,
that
right.
that's how I know that in Canada they took them about a year to switch over.
Yeah.
So next up is another album by Fraley's Comet, Second Sighting. Now, I got to be honest, I don't like this album at all. I don't, I, I don't like any songs on this album. Like in,
Yeah.
in
It's
that, not
not good.
many albums I can say that about. It's just not good. There's nothing, absolutely nothing memorable on this album, my opinion. And I don't think that's very contrarian to say. I don't think a lot of people like this album. It was rushed. Ace was not very present on it.
No.
I got nothing against Todd Howarth. I'm not the biggest fan of his vocals, and his writing and playing dominate this album. And it's supposed to be It's supposed to be Fraley's Comet. So, yeah, just not one that I care for. Next up is an album we've already seen. We're at Reach for the Sky. Like
Of
again,
course. Yep.
such a great band, and but I don't care for that album cover is just so strange.
It's really strange.
Player cassette. This is a U.S. one.
I
So
believe I remember hearing Stephen Piercy talking about that album cover at some point, and there was a different one in mind or something, but I don't remember what the details were.
also interesting as we came to find out later, they have a song called "Reach for the Sky," but
Yes,
it's not on this album.
and it's a great song.
It's a great song. It's on the reissue of Out of the Cellar. So
Yeah.
yeah, all the shirts that I saw had this R on
Oh,
it.
right.
So many of the like a laughable amount. You know what I mean? Like they were just overrun with them, and they probably hear like a truck went off the road or something. It was next up, one we haven't seen yet. One of my favorite unsung bands. I already showed a tape by them, but Best of Vandenberg. This came out in 1988,
Oh,
and that is clearly a Whitesnake era photo of
a
Adrian,
hundred percent it is.
who I had the pleasure of seeing earlier this year.
So is that
Um,
on Atco?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and notice like it was on Atco. So Atco, even though it's part of Atlantic, did not do the 40th anniversary thing. I don't think this ever came out in Canada. This is just strictly U.S.
I've never
But
seen that.
yeah, it's very, very under the radar. Um, and that's what the cassette looks like. There's a pretty good write-up about the band in it, and it's just stuff from the first three Vandenberg albums. But I remember, I think I read somewhere where somebody came up to Adrian with this record and got him to sign it. And he's like, "What is this?" He didn't even know Atlantic was putting it out, but it makes sense in the wake of the success of Whitesnake. So
That's always fun. That happened to me with Lee Aaron once. I got her to sign something that she was like, "Where did you get that?"
yeah. There's a story about like Rick Emmett. I've read an interview with him saying, people put stuff in front of me all the time, Triumph stuff, and of course he had been
That's
out of the
right.
loop so long.
That's
He's like,
right.
if you let stuff like that throw you, you shouldn't be in the music business. It's gonna happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Next one, I think I'm right about this. We have already seen it, but I think this was the first cassette I bought that looked like this. And it is one of my all-time favorites,
Yeah.
The first Winger album. This is a Canadian edition. I still distinctly remember walking from my house down to the Sam the Record Man when it was open in our hometown. And instead of walking back, my grandmother didn't live too far from where the Sam's was, so I just went there for the afternoon with
Right.
my Walkman, and
Of course.
I remember listening to this album. It's still one of my favorite albums of all
Yeah.
time.
I'm
Definitely one
with
of
you.
my favorite debuts.
I'm really
Uh,
hoping that they come back up here because I haven't seen them since the Kiss Hot in the Shade tour, and
oh,
I need to see them live again.
I've never seen Winger. My buddy Matt had the pleasure of seeing Kip do an acoustic show,
Oh, lucky
and
guy.
and I've seen Reb twice. I saw him
Yes,
with
with other
Dokken and I saw
bands.
him with Whitesnake. So next up is a better album than the one that came out before it, Ace Frehley Trouble Walkin'
Yes.
from 1989. So this
Do
one
ya?
they put out under his name. Yeah, great cover of Do Ya. First time I ever heard it, and it's very faithful to the ELO version.
Yes.
So this is on Megaforce, Megaforce
Oh, yes.
Worldwide.
Eddie Trunks signing to
Yeah, that's
Megaforce.
right. Yeah, Eddie got Ace signed. I think that the first Frehley's Comet album almost went gold, but
Hmm.
none of them,
Well, the
and
two great songs on that first one, right?
yeah, I mean, Into the Night is
Into the Night is
a killer song.
amazing with the video shot in
And this, of
Toronto, I
course,
believe.
this is the so this has got the the oddity of having Hide Your Heart on it, which is kind of
Yeah,
weird.
that's right.
Yeah. So I've got two more. We've seen them both, and probably given the time period, this would have been like the third of these that I bought. Mr. Big's first album, just like yours. It's a Canadian, so exact same issue. I remember did an extensive interview with Billy Sheehan, and they played four of the songs off of here. So
Ah,
I heard a good chunk of the album before it actually came out. Now, but the surprising thing is when I actually got the album, I was a little bit underwhelmed. It wasn't that I didn't like it, but it just never grabbed me.
yeah,
And so I kind of put it away. But then when the second album came out, I went back and listened to the first album, and it's got a lot of good songs on it. Big Love should have been, I think Big Love should have been a single. I think it was, but it should have had a video.
right.
I don't think Wind Me Up was a good choice for a single and a video. And Addicted to That Rush was never going to be a big hit, but I
No,
understand why
no,
they put it up because it was to showcase Billy and Paul.
absolutely,
So
absolutely.
and then Eric Martin, he just was one of those effortlessly great, singers. So
Well, they were a
it,
band that didn't really fit into again, of the era. They didn't fit
yeah,
that kind of what was going on, right?
exactly, yeah. But it's like where else do you put them?
Right.
So and finally, and you've already showed this. And it's funny because if you hadn't, I was going to say, well, I'm kind of cheating by putting this here. And it is one of my all-time favorite albums,
Yeah, I
the
had to
debut from
cheat.
Skid Row. But I planned on showing this off anyway, and this is the last one in my pile because if you bought this in the States, it was red.
Right.
And I don't know why they made it black in Canada. It's the only one I know of that they did this. If anyone else knows of any other
Oh,
Atlantic cassettes that were black on the side, same font, same layout, but and especially the red is like the
I
primary
know.
color. So,
So
but I mean, it
somebody made
stood
a
out.
decision.
Yeah,
Somebody,
that wasn't a mistake.
no,
It's not like the red ink ran out.
right.
So, but yeah, I remember being in class. So I would have been in grade 10, that fall, and the person sitting behind me had this cassette sitting on their desk, and they had it tilted in such a way, and I looked
Yeah.
at that and I thought, well, that's weird. I said, "Can I look at that for a second?" And I was like, "Why is that red?" And then I saw that it was a clear cassette.
Yeah.
So, so yeah, so that takes us through 1989. This is great because we got a great variety of this. So now we're gonna pick up with Chris, and we're gonna start in 1990 and go through 1992 when I believe they stopped.
Yeah. This is going to be fun because I've got some, let's say, some more obscure
I
tapes here.
I hope so. That's the idea.
But let's kick it off with we've already talked about this band a couple times. Bad
Yeah,
Company, Holy Water. This was a really let's say big album for them at
it was
this
a
time.
platinum album. It was their first platinum album in 11 years.
Exactly. And a lot of it driven by the single If You Need
Needed somebody. Yeah,
Somebody, which was a
yeah,
huge AOR hit. But
yeah,
Holy Water, the first single or the first track on this album,
yeah,
man, it's good.
yeah.
Like this is a
Oh, this stuff
great,
was
great album.
just like the only thing I find about this era is that it's not really lyrically like the lyrics seems like the lyrics didn't take a lot of time.
Yeah.
That's fine, but I just something I always notice. Like but the songs are great, the vocals are great, so you don't really pay much attention to it. But it's like lyrics was not a strength.
Well, so the interesting thing about this album, in terms of the songwriting, as you mentioned, so most of these are written by Brian Howe and the producer Terry
Terry
Thomas.
Thomas, yeah, and that's I think another reason why Simon Kirke and Mick Ralphs always kind of shied away from this period.
Exactly.
But it did. I mean, it brought that name back. It resurrected that name totally.
Oh, absolutely. They were back on the radio, right?
Yeah,
So we've talked about this band already as well. I was so anticipating this release when it came out in 1990.
yeah, oh yeah,
We've got Wingers in the Heart of the Young. I've always loved the album cover. Now
yeah,
it's one of those ones that's tilted, right? So you have to turn it
yeah.
this way.
That's John
Um,
Taylor Dismuke's artwork. Who
yep.
anybody that's a YNT fan will know Black Tiger, Mean Streak, and Rock We Trust. He's got a distinctive style.
This is this was I think when this is a US copy, it's clear cassette, but it's got as well on it.
I have never seen a hype sticker placed on the back before.
Well, I'm not, yeah, I know. So I think what it is was this was on the front, but the guy bought it from taped it to the back.
Oh, okay, okay, yeah.
Yeah. So it was on there at the beginning.
I
Uh,
also don't know if I've ever seen a horizontal hype sticker before.
right? Because it would have barely fit, which is
Yeah,
I think it must have been going this way, right?
yeah, makes sense. So yeah,
But
if you
this
look close, it's Winger 2, technically.
wait, this is Winger too. And I saw them on tour with Kiss for this album. They were excellent. Can't Get Enough is still when it comes on
Yeah,
Sirius XM in my car, I
crank it. Yeah,
crank it.
yeah.
Next, another band we've talked about. Rat
Yeah.
Detonator.
A much better album than Reach for the Sky, even though Reach for the Sky was okay. I like this album a lot better.
This is much better. And they worked with Sir Arthur Payson on this one. Um, kind of has one of their only ballads, if you will,
Yeah,
"Giving Yourself Away,"
yeah,
which
which
is
is
a
a
great song.
Diane Warren co-write anyway.
Exactly, and
Desmond Child on a lot of the tracks.
a lot of Desmond Child, but I still love the beginning of this album with intro to Shame and then going into Shame, Shame, Shame.
Yeah, yeah,
It's a great, great, great song.
yeah.
Up next, this is a band that one and done, shall we say?
That
Hurricane
that was one
Alice.
that's one of those bands when I said I used to see all of these cutouts, I saw so many copies of that album.
Yeah, this these guys tear the house down. Is the name of the album, and this was really all they did in terms of that era. Now,
Yeah.
I did a little research. It looks like they're kind of still back together because they have an active website, um, which is interesting. And then there's when we get
Now I
into
can only
old.
guess that there was already a band called Hurricane Alice with hurricane spelled the conventional way.
So actually, you know what it was? It wasn't. They changed the name because they feared a lawsuit from Hurricane, the band
Oh
Hurricane.
yeah, yeah, Kelly Hansen's band.
Kelly
Yeah,
Hansen's
yeah,
band. That's
yeah,
why they changed the spelling
yeah.
to HER
Probably
because
a
of that.
smart move. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Another one that this band is great. Sleaze Bees.
I had a feeling for some reason I had a feeling we'd see this one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Screwed, Blued, and Tattooed.
yeah.
Um, I didn't
Kind of tells you all you need to know about
exactly.
what they're all about.
I didn't find these guys until probably like 5 years ago.
Now
And I gotta
they
say,
were Dutch, I want to say.
yes. Yeah, the lead singer. Yeah, the whole actually I think yeah, you're right. And then this is a US copy, but this is also the era of Look on the Back.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Explicit lyrics inside, kids. That
yeah,
makes me want to buy it even more.
yeah.
But Stranger Than Paradise is one of the best songs of the era. So good. So good. Okay. Obscure band, more of them. Tattoo Rodeo.
And your copy, like mine, has a slice through it. I saw my cassette and CD
There it
of
is.
this both have slices through them. And again, too many bands.
Yep.
And this
This is a
also had
US
the
copy.
misfortune of coming out, I think, post Nirvana Nevermind. So it was just never a,
Yeah, these guys, this is called Road Hard Put Away Wet.
yeah,
Uh,
subtle.
Subtle there. Yeah, these guys kind of were another one of the like Southern rock, a little bit of country in there.
Well, what I remember about this band, I actually went on the Crash Course Metal Show and we talked about this band. It was almost laughable because almost every song has that little acoustic slide guitar intro. It's like if every song on Cinderella's Long Cold Winter started off like Bad Seamstress Blues.
Oh
It's
yeah,
almost like they were
yeah.
just trying to like almost every song. But they actually had that the ballad "Been Your Fool" on that album went all the way to number 12 on the Billboard Mainstream Rock chart. So
They had a hit.
which is surprising given the era. So they actually got some airplay. But it wouldn't have been that different than Black Crowes or bands like that
Yeah,
either.
no, you're right.
That
You're right.
song anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely another band that flew under the radar. This one, well, we can't talk about.
It flying under the radar.
Exactly. Now, this one, the ACDC's The Razor's Edge, produced by the late great Bruce Fairbairn.
Yeah.
This 100% was kind of viewed as ACDC's comeback, if you will.
Huge. I mean, it brought them back to multi-platinum and yeah, I'll have more to say about that in a bit. But
Yeah, but this, I mean, Thunderstruck, right? Like
yeah.
when this came out and Thunderstruck came out, and I saw the video on Much Music for the first time, like it's still a favorite of mine. It's just one of those anthems that.
Well, I hear that every time like the kids in the family there's a basketball game or something like that, you are almost guaranteed
Oh,
to
100%.
hear Thunders. And I always try to put myself back and, imagine hearing this for the first time. I mean, yeah, but I'll
Oh,
have more
and
to say about
and
them.
Angus just noodling around,
Yeah,
right, with
yeah,
that riff, like
by
it's
mistake.
unbelievable.
And I love the story about in the studio how he had to, like, I know in the video he's like hand up in the air, but he actually had to tape his strings
Yeah,
so they wouldn't ring out. He's like, because everything on that is on one string.
it's
So
crazy, but iconic now, right?
yeah,
So here's one that I'm gonna. This is one that I'll see if I can stump Tim if he knows these guys.
heard of them, Lost
Lost
Boys.
Boys.
Yeah, I have heard of them. I don't know. I have to think it's Metal Edge. That.
So this is a U.S. copy, and look at this. You can see no sticker, but parental advisory,
Oh
explicit
yeah,
lyrics.
yeah. Produced by
It's
Godfrey Diamond. That's not a name you see very much. Now he was an engineer for Jack Douglas, and I think he produced one of Billy Squier's album, but that's not a name you see very much.
no, and so the history behind these guys. This is the lead singer of Odin, Randy Odin.
Right.
Um, they had
As
a
seen
band,
in the decline of
Fine of
what?
the
Yeah,
Wicked. Exactly. So this is he kind of went solo, if you will. Was his new band, Lost
right.
Boys. That's him on the front cover
Yeah,
there. But the just not the band specifically talking about here, but the cassette itself. Like, look, this is a white case,
that is very different.
which is very different. I have
Yeah.
never seen a white Atlantic. This is a
Now,
U.S. copy.
do you think that's the way it came, or
I'm not sure. That's a good point. It may be somebody just
maybe
replaced it.
somebody out there knows?
Yeah, let us know.
I've
Was
heard of them,
this
but
actually?
only barely. So yeah, you're going deep here, and that's
I
great.
went. That's deep, deep into the weeds of
Yeah, but
oversaturated
this is
bands.
good because this is illustrating my point about how there were so many that signed to Atlantic.
Well, and guess what? Here's another one. And guess
Yeah.
what? It's got the cutout. This is
Oh,
Baton
I
Rouge.
love this album. What a great band. Now, this is a band that should have made it
Yeah, this is Shake Your
because
Soul.
aside from most of these bands having one truly great song, maybe two, I think every song on this album is fantastic.
Yeah, it's great. This is a U.S. sealed edition. You can see
Yeah.
they're
Walks Like a
promoting "Walks
Woman
Like a
was
Woman."
such a great, but you know what? Have you ever seen a video to that song?
I have not.
It's so stupid.
Oh, I can
And when
imagine what
and
it's
when I
like.
saw it, I remember thinking, yeah, I can see why grunge happened. And it's not because of what you might think. It's not your cliched video. I
Oh,
know,
okay, okay.
I can tell they were trying to do something different, but in a nutshell, they take every lyric in that song and make it literal. But the band footage playing, like lip syncing is okay, but the rest of it, the concept, stupid.
Okay,
And it's too
I'm gonna
bad
look
because it's
for
a
it.
fantastic song.
It is.
That's a great
Yeah.
album. I don't have that on cassette right now. I've got to fix that. Yeah.
There's the cutout too. So this was in the bin.
I remember going to a Zeller's in like I think it was a Zeller's in 93, Chris. And now obviously they came from the States because they all had long boxes
Oh
and there
yeah,
was a
yeah.
bin full of them, like tons. But
That was the kind of beginning of the end of the cassette era.
yeah.
Next up, one of my favorite bands of the 80s,
Yep.
Cassettes, and this is their album X.
Yeah.
This did really well for them. Coming off Kick, which was hard to follow up. This was, I think, a really solid follow up. Suicide Blonde was big.
Yeah. Disappear
Disappear
was a
was
big
big.
song.
Yeah. Bitter
Worldwide,
Tears.
this album was almost or as big as Kick, like in the UK, but yeah.
This is one of the most like the cassette liner notes, the
They go
pictures.
on,
But look
they
at
go
this.
on, they go on for yeah.
One, two,
X.
X,
I've never noticed that before.
right?
Yeah.
And it's a little bit hard to read. The font
Yeah.
is with the colors are a little bit crazy. That
These
was
are
one thing
things
about the
that
liner notes were
yeah, these are things
small.
that are very important to look at.
Oh yeah,
I know from working on my books, it's like people are going to get annoyed if they can't read it easily.
absolutely.
So
And there was, well, I can't remember, but there were a bunch of albums from that era that I was like, I can't
now,
read these liner notes.
speaking of In Excess, you haven't shown it, so I'm going to guess neither of us have it. One album that I remember seeing all the time was by the band Max Q, which was Michael Hutchins' side band that
Oh,
came out in '89. I used
yeah,
to
I
see
don't know.
that album all the time, and it looked like it was the Atlantic, red and white.
Oh, interesting. Keep
Yeah.
an eye out for that one.
Yeah.
This is a great album from a
I had a
under the
feeling we'd
radar
be seeing
band.
that too.
Electric
All lips and
Boys,
hips. What a song. That
right?
is
How great
so
is that?
good.
A
Now
cool
they
intro.
were Swedish.
Yes, I believe so.
And I think did Bob Rock not produce that?
He did
Because
indeed.
it's got
Bob
that
Rock.
big, heavy drum sound. And
Yeah.
yeah, All Lips and Hips is a great song.
And this cassette, I didn't discover these guys again until much later as well. But
Okay.
amazing, amazing band. Like
Yeah.
definitely another under the radar band though. We saw their self-titled debut a while
Yeah.
ago. This is the second album from Enough's Enough, and this is Strength. So this is what I was talking about. This one had big expectations
Yeah.
from the label. They actually appeared on David Letterman
Yeah, they were like
in
in
support
people
of
in the
this.
know really liked this band.
Yeah,
Like Howard Stern loved these guys.
yeah, they were very, I mean, musically, they were a little bit different than their peers at the
Yeah.
time, right? And they were unique. Donnie V and Chips Enough. Just fold out so you can see the picture of. There they
And
are.
their guitarist, and he's since passed away, but Derek Frigo.
Yeah.
I've seen pictures of Derek Frigo that I would swear he looked just like Richie Sambora.
There you go.
Yeah.
And this
And
has
that
like,
album cover, if we ever did a lookalike show, hold that up next to 5150.
you are right. Pretty close.
Yeah.
There's a this has like 14 songs on it. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But a good album.
Fill up that CD.
Up next, a one and done we'll say supergroup, I guess, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah. Lou
This
Gramm, Vivian Campbell.
Yep,
Yeah.
the
This
self-titled
album,
Shadow
yeah.
King.
Yeah.
I like
That's
the
you
little
used to see this all the time in the cutout bins too.
yeah, there's the
All the
cutout
time.
right there.
Yeah.
This is a US edition, clear.
Yeah.
But they had, I think, one single from this, and it was produced by Keith Olsen, who had a long history of success.
But he produced, and I think he produced Double Vision. I think.
Might have,
I
yeah.
think he did. I think he worked with Foreigner at least once.
It's the clear cassette there, but Lou Gramm and I believe Bruce Turgeon, who's the bass guitarist on here, they went over to Foreigner for Mr.
That's
Moonlight.
right. Yeah, another good album.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
which probably would have done better if they'd have stayed on Atlantic if they could have.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And we're gonna keep talking about this band. Rat.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
That has got to be one of the best ofs ever.
I would 100% agree with you. Rat and Roll 81,
Yeah.
91.
So
This is,
nicely concise.
yeah, this is a US edition. But this, if you're like looking for, a Rat kind of introduction, you're introducing someone to Rat. Oh, sorry, this is a Columbia House edition from Canada.
Oh yeah, the clear yeah, it is different. Yeah.
Got the whole thing here about Columbia House, but this is kind of like the quintessential. If you're going to hand somebody, here's Rat,
Well,
boom.
the nice thing about this is, at least the last time I looked, would like when Sunrise Records would have their $5 CDs out, you could usually find this one.
Yeah, and this one too, it's great. I always love the liner notes that had a little bit of a history
Yeah.
of the
And
band.
it's got songs from the EP.
It does.
So that doesn't always happen.
19 songs.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It fills up. Yeah. Oh, it's so
good.
good. And you can really tell they were still trying to push Detonator because there's like 5 songs from
Yeah,
Detonator on there.
big Detonator presence on this
Yeah.
for sure.
And by this
Second,
time, I remember seeing Detonator in the cutouts.
oh, it definitely was.
Yeah.
And we're moving into 91 now with the second album from Skid Row, Slave to the Grind, which if you talk to most Skid Row fans, they'll probably tell you this is their best album.
I love it, but I still like the debut better.
Yeah, me too. I remember when this came out, and this was the first album to go to number 1 on the Billboard 200 in the SoundScan era, first heavy metal album.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And this one, when when Monkey Business, the first single came out, I was like, oh, the people that thought Skid Row was all about I Remember You.
I
They are in
distinctly
trouble.
listen, I distinctly remember. I remember this. I think I just finished grade 11, and it was one of those. I got like sick, but it's like you don't get sick in the summer. That's not right. But
Right.
I was sick as a dog. I had like a 24-hour flu. But I remember it was well enough to go downstairs and pop a video cassette into the VCR because um, the Pepsi Power Hour was on, and
Of course.
The late Dan Gallagher interviewed Rachel, Snake, and Scotty, and so I recorded all their interview segments, and at the very end of the show, they premiered the Monkey Business video, and I'm like, I can't wait for this album. This is so
I
good. I
know.
was
I
so
know, right?
excited. It's
So
funny how you
heavy.
remember things like that. I mean, even as sick as I was, I'm like, okay, when I get feeling better, when I get feeling better, I'm gonna bang my head to this song.
Oh man, it's a
Yeah,
brilliant album, but
yeah.
definitely a little bit different than the first. It's another album from Kix. This is Hotwire.
East West, yeah.
West Records
East
is
West, yeah, which was
they were
very.
under.
That was a British label that Atlantic briefly revived, and
Yes.
I don't have any artists on that label, but I do believe that like Simply Red had an album on East
Oh,
West,
okay. Yeah.
and Howard Jones, I think. So, but it didn't last very long. And actually, Dream Theater were on East West very briefly. There was that weird transition because they went from Atco to East West, and then eventually Elektra.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah.
That Hotwire album though did not. Again,
Oh, it
it's
didn't do a thing.
91. It didn't do anything. It kind of went
Yeah.
what was going on at the
I
time. But
remember
if you
seeing the
like
video for Girl Money
Girl
once.
Money, yeah,
Yeah.
it was probably on the Power Hour once. But
It was. Yeah. Yeah.
if you like Blow My Fuse, you'll like it. You'll like it. Now this one is it's a good album. This is Foreigner's
hmm
Unusual Heat with their new singer Johnny Edwards.
Yeah.
Um, go. This one did nothing.
This was the king of the delete bins, Chris.
Oh my god.
All the time I saw that cover.
This
And I wasn't even into
tanked.
Foreigner back then, but you see, this one and Shadow King were competing against each other, and I think Atlantic sunk them both
I think you're right.
because they're like,
100%.
we want Lou Graham back in Foreigner, which happened the very next year.
And Low Down and Dirty got some video play.
Yeah,
It's a good track,
great
but
song. I mean, and Johnny sounded enough like like Lou. I don't think as much. I don't think he did as good a job as Kelly, but you know,
yeah, it's definitely kind of you're right. They wanted Lou back in that band.
yeah.
Second album from Mr. Big, Lean Into It. This one contains their biggest hit,
Yeah.
This is a US copy. Um, to Be With You, which was a massive, massive, massive song that I hated back in the day when it was out. um, but I've come to
More on that later too.
yes, exactly. And we've got up next another White Lion album,
Yeah. The last Atlantic
Main
one.
Attraction.
Yeah.
It's a good album. I don't like it as much as the first two. It's got a couple good songs on it that I love. Broken Heart, their remake of their own kind of earlier song from their first album, I think is a great one. And Love Don't Come Easy is one that I'd forgotten about that I really like.
Yeah.
The
That
video
was
is
I
terrible.
know that was a single.
Yeah, it's terrible. The video is terrible, but it's a good single. Produced by Richie Zito.
Yeah.
And that's a Columbia House edition as well, as you saw. Two left. Brittany Fox. Remember
Yeah.
them?
That's a good album. And
Bite
it's a
Down Hard.
different singer.
Yeah, this is with
Tommy
singer.
Paris.
Um, yes, Tommy Paris
And that's yeah, that was on East West. I forgot
for
about
East
that.
West. And
That's
this
another
one's
one I used to see a lot in the cutout bins, but it's a good
see,
album.
there's
Yeah.
the hole, the delete bin hole
Yeah.
there. But a good album, and he replaced Dizzy Dean Davison from the first two.
Yeah.
And last of this is the only one I have from '92 because I believe that was '91.
Yeah.
Second album from the Electric Boys,
Yeah.
and this is Groovis Maximus.
And I actually remember, this is odd. I actually remember on Much Music that summer, they used to play the video for Mary and the Mystery World a fair bit,
Yep,
but it was a little different. So maybe that's why they were able to get through.
there's the lads.
Yeah.
But they had a little bit of success. But
Yeah.
again, '92, this was not the era for this music anymore.
Yeah. You know, the interesting thing after this is that a lot of Atlantic cassettes started, they all became very personalized to whatever album it was. I'm thinking of like Winger Pull, ones
Yes,
like that. So they weren't using the, one look fits all.
exactly.
So once again, yeah, I've got a lot that Chris already showed off, so I won't take a lot of time on those ones. So yeah, so I'm going to start with AC/DC, The Razor's Edge. I didn't get into AC/DC for years. I'll be honest
Oh,
with you. I was
wow.
way late to them. And it really wasn't until I saw a cover band around, I want to say 1997, and I realized how many of their songs I actually did like. But this was so leading up to this, and there's kind of no way I can talk about this without sounding really like a jerk. But when I was a kid, the only people that I knew that liked AC/DC in my school were the tough guys,
You're right.
the guys that probably should have graduated 2 or 3 years
Yeah, and they were
ago already, and
smokers, and
they
they
were
had good
yeah
teeth.
they were the tough guys, AC/DC, cavemen, But when this album came out, people my age were buying it,
Yes,
and
yeah,
so this really. When if people talk about AC/DC now that weren't there at the time, oh, okay, well, this was a slightly more successful album. No, this was an event for AC/DC. It was the first time since I think for those about to rock that they were really selling albums not just to their core fan base.
well, that's it, right? They didn't really fit in again to like so from like Fly on the Wall through to Blow Up Your Video. They were kind of
Blow Up Your
trying to
Video is a terrible album.
right,
It's
and they were
not
trying to
very good.
figure out how do we fit into this,
Yeah,
what's going on.
and they shouldn't have had. And what this album did, they don't need to fit. They're AC/DC,
Exactly, exactly.
But yeah, I mean, Money Talks went all the way to 23 on Billboard. It was their highest charting single, which is kind of
Just
funny.
that is kind of funny.
And it doesn't sound like a Bruce Fairbairn production to me. It doesn't have the big drum sound, but it's a
Yeah,
good, so it's only a studio album they did with Chris Slade, the bald guy, immortalized because he's in those videos, right?
exactly.
Fire Your Guns is great. That's a fantastic song. I love the title song, The Razor's Edge.
Are You Ready's great.
Are You Ready? That was the third single. I like that. I think I like that song better than Money Talks is always it's it's so pop.
Oh, it's
You know what
pop.
I mean? It's so sing-songy. It's never
So
been a
pop.
favorite of mine.
No, me either.
But anyway. So yeah, we talked about that. And we talked about Holy Water. And it's interesting because I've talked about this a lot because as you know, I've been talking about Night Ranger a lot lately for some reason.
Yes, indeed, you have.
Um
By the book, people.
Thank you. But yeah, I mean, so Bad Company went out and they were able to headline on this tour because this album sold so well, and Damn Yankees opened for them. And it's funny because they were both high enough and If You Need Somebody were both like on the chart at the same time. So
Oh yeah,
that would have been a great double bill to be at.
absolutely.
And really, when you think about it, they weren't all that different. They were kind of playing the same type of music.
Yeah, no, very similar. You're right.
Really
You're
wasn't
right.
all that different.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Next up, yeah, this one's a little different. It's a little bit more personalized, but it fits because it's red and white. In Excess X, which
Yep.
that always confused me because I'm like, well, this is not their 10th album, but it signified 10 years since their first album came out, I guess.
Exactly.
My buddy Matt's a huge In Excess fan, so he's the one that told me about that. And I think so. This one's got it's got the smaller window on it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but other than that, everything else is just the same. And you know, if you get the CD, it's just like one square of this. You got to fold the
Yes.
thing out, and this is actually one of the very few like vinyl that I have from 1990 that's not a reissue. I've got a Canadian Columbia House version of X on vinyl, which
Oh
is
wow.
not something you see all that much.
Do not.
Yeah. Next up is Rat Detonator. Seen this one already. Canadian Columbia House version. Now, what I don't like about this is that they started to cheap out a little bit on the quality of the cardboard because I don't know if you can see that's
Oh.
kind of flimsy.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. You're right.
you have to be careful with that one. The flimsiest one I remember it used to bug me all the time was Cinderella's Long Cold Winter. It's like paper thin
Really thin
cardboard,
paper. Yeah.
really thin. It was really hard to take out and read, you know, without damaging it. Next up's another one already talked about, you know, fantastic band. Everybody knows I
Oh
love this
yeah.
band, Winger. And I love how they incorporated the logo from the first album into this.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it's always weird when they have to like do the horizontal thing. So this is just a Canadian copy. Um, Next up, again, you already talked about this one, Foreigner, Unusual Heat. I don't really like that cover. So yeah, this one's different too, but it is red and white. This is a Canadian Columbia House one. And yeah. Next up is one we haven't seen.
Ah.
Um, it was a comeback album of sorts, Leonard Skinner,
Oh
1991.
my.
So they did two albums on Atlantic, this one and The Last Rebel. So I guess
Didn't know that.
so that was the so this is the first studio album with Johnny Van Zant on lead vocals, and the cassette just looks like there's I think that Eric Martin sings on one of the songs on sings
Oh, that's
backup on one of
interesting.
the songs, but yeah. Anyway, and next up, speaking of way into this album, I remember seeing you know Green Tinted '60s Mind video. And I
Yep.
remember that for a while the radio started playing Lucky This Time, which is a fantastic song, but I don't they should have done a video for it. That could have been a hit single. I think Never Say Never is a great song, co-written with Jim Vallance. Um, and this is just a great album. I listened to this so much more than the first album. And it's funny because yeah, almost a year after this came out, I can still remember driving through town listening to it was a top 40 radio station I listened to and hearing To Be With You, which again, even the band looked at that as a throwaway.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy.
But I was so glad it helped that album go platinum. It rescued that album from the delete bins, you know.
Absolutely.
So I was happy for them, but you know, it was short lived. And it's funny because I saw an interview with Paul Gilbert talking to Rick Beato, which is a great interview. Paul Gilbert's a great interview anyway. He seems like such a nice guy and he's such a great player. But he said that their manager, who was Herbie Herbert, who was best known for managing Journey, he sat them down. He said, "Well, guys, you got a number one hit. This is probably going to be it," and it was. But hey, they can't take that away from them. They had a
No, you
number one
can't.
song, right?
Can't.
Next up, again, Rat and Roll. This is the very cassette I bought when it first came out. I vividly remember I bought this and Tesla Psychotic Supper at the same time because they were
Oh
both
yeah.
new albums. So here's one that's already been shown. Um, Skid Row, Slave to the Grind, which actually for some reason ended up in the cutouts.
Ooh, interesting.
Probably because it didn't sell quite as many. It didn't sell 5 million like the first one did.
Oh,
I
true.
think it
Yeah.
took about 7 years to go double platinum. But and this is, of course, this one is it's a US version. This has that lovely Get the Out on it, which is the first time I ever saw an album with the word not bleeped. I was like, can they do that? I guess they
Yeah.
can. Um, and it because it wasn't too long after that that Slick Toxic came out.
Oh, doing the
And they
nasty.
had Big F and Deal, but written out. But anyway,
Yep.
but I also have this is actually the first copy of this that I bought. I have the alternate version of Slave to the Grind,
Oh,
which has the song Beggar's Day as the last song on side one,
that's great.
which I'm going to be controversial here. I actually think is a better song.
Controversy.
I actually like that song a lot, Beggar's Day. I think it's a great song. I just got a couple more. One we've seen, one we haven't. Yeah, Tattoo Rodeo. It's pretty good, it's but what I prefer is the album they did after this, which is an album called Skin that came out in 1995. Now the
Okay.
copy that I have, I only have it on CD. It was on Mausoleum Records, which is like this real heavy metal label, but in
Oh,
Canada it was distributed by EMI. I think it's only got like 9 songs on it, but song for song, I think there's better songs on it. And the singer from Tattoo Rodeo, Dennis Churchill Drees, great singer. Like he had a really, really
yeah.
powerful, like belting voice. And a song on here that I think would have been a hit if it had come out a few years earlier was the ballad "Tell Me Why." I think that's a really good song, like really good, and it actually kind of reminds me of Baton Rouge.
Yeah, a
It's
little
not
bit.
all
Yeah.
that different than some because they had great ballads too, like There Was a Time.
Yeah.
But um, and then the final one that I've got is Twisted
Oh,
Sister.
yes.
Big hits and nasty cuts. The best of Twisted Sister. This is a Canadian version. This came out very early 1992. And it's interesting because so the first half of it's all studio songs, and then the second half of it is live songs, most of which were released in the
Interesting.
UK as B-sides because they performed at the Marquee Club in London. And I think that if you get the reissued version that just came out a few years ago of You Can't Stop Rock and Roll, that entire concert's on there.
Oh,
So it's got some classic D. Snyder stage raps, which, if you know anything about, like Sebastian Bach pretty much ripped off his
oh my
stage raps from
God.
D.
Yeah.
He's even, he's admitted it, but they do a really, really heavy, fast version of the Stones. It's only rock and roll. And just some of D's stage raps are just so funny. But anyway, we won't
He's
get,
a great
yeah.
guy. Can I ask, does that compilation include Hot Love? I'm curious.
There's nothing from Love is for Suckers on here.
Hmm, interesting.
Which was, as we know,
I get why,
was
but
supposed to be a D solo album. I happen to like it quite a lot, but
so do I.
it's very poppy and it's very, very commercial. But I really like that album, and I think D sounds great singing that sort of stuff. Like "Wake Up
Well,
the Sleeping Giant," like that's good stuff.
yeah, I still can't believe that Hot Love didn't do better. It's such a of the era, that song to me, the video's a little cheesy, but
You
the
know what I
song,
think the problem was? It was Twisted Sister.
yeah,
You
maybe.
know, I mean, that just wasn't what they were known for. As a
True.
matter of fact, if you get this cassette, well, okay, the CD. There's no songs from Come Out and Play on it, but
Oh,
because cassettes could hold more, if you
yeah.
get the cassette, it's got Be Cruel to Your School on it.
Okay, because yeah, that should have been on there. Yeah.
Yeah. There should have been something from on there. I'm glad they put that on there, not Leader of the
Not Leader of the
Pack.
Pack. Oh
But
God.
yeah, so that's the newest one I have, and I think after that they started to get like I said personalized. So
Yeah, I have Wingers Pull in '93, and it's
yeah,
completely
it's got
different.
an orange. It's got it continues the album cover, I think, is what most
Yes,
of
it
them did.
does.
Yeah. So there you go, folks. That's what Chris and I have for these Atlantic red and white cassettes. I still think it's one of my favorite cassette designs. They are very striking, and if you are crate digging for cassettes, they stand out.
They do.
So
They really do.
if especially if there's particular ones you're looking for. So if you see this on Facebook, post what you've got underneath. I'd like to see,
Yeah, I would love to
side,
see.
the spines of them. And thanks, Chris, for doing this. And
Thanks, Tim, as always.
be sure to subscribe to My Rock and Roll Heaven for some great content. And we'll see y'all later on Tim's Vinyl Confessions.